Hello, digital makers. Welcome to this very special Coolest Projects workshop. It's going to be awesome. If you haven't already, say hello in the chat and let us know in the world you are. I'm Mr. C, and I'm coming to you live from Cambridge in the UK. We already have loads of people in the chat today early. It's great to see you all getting involved. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you all in the conversation today about Coolest Projects. So today, we're talking about the Coolest Projects Global Showcase, and we've got Liz from Liberty Global as our special guest today. She's going to talk to us about innovating to protect the environment and how young people worldwide can start building the skills they need to help change the world for the better. We're going to talk about how you at home can share your amazing inventions with the world in the Coolest Projects Global Showcase and what you need to do to get involved. We're also going to show you how to create an awesome game in Scratch called Save the Shark in our codealong section. We love having you all here with us chatting live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So your comments come through to us live on those platforms, and we would love to hear from you all during the workshop. So feel free to jump in and ask questions or let us know your opinion. We see all of your comments, and we'll do our best to share your thoughts. So we're here today to chat about Coolest Projects. Okay, Coolest Projects is the world's leading technology showcase for young people. It's a unique opportunity to get creative, have fun, and celebrate ingenuity. Young people from all over the globe submit their creations to a global showcase, which is then shortlisted and judged by a panel of technology and social action experts from around the globe. There's still time for you to make something awesome and enter it into this year's showcase. Registration closes on the 11th of May. Now, one thing to note about Coolest Projects this year is that there are categories and topics under which you can register your project. The category into which you enter your project relates to the technology you use to create it. So the categories are Scratch, hardware, mobile apps, web, games, and advanced programming for things like machine learning. So we're going to be doing some Scratch today. And the topics are what your project is about. So there are 7 topics you can choose from, which are community, environment, health, fun, art, education, or identity. Don't worry, your project doesn't have to be about one of these topics. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the environment topic. So you should choose the environment topic when you register if your project is designed to increase awareness of environmental issues or solve problems that are important to maintaining or repairing the natural environment. This could be related to earth science, climate change, nature, biodiversity, all kinds of environment-based topics. So here, we've got a really great example of an environment project from last year's showcase that helps us detect wildfires early. Check it out.
Hi, my name is Sashrika, and I'm a 5th grade student, and this is my project for the Coolest Project. So, what is a wildfire? A wildfire is basically an uncontrolled fire that can happen in forests and can get out of control instantly. Why should we prevent wildfires from happening? One reason we should prevent wildfires from happening is because there are so many greenhouse gases that are in wildfires that can release into the atmosphere and cause climate change. Another reason we should prevent wildfires from happening is because since it can spread so quickly, it can burn more things at once. For example, it can burn more houses and more animals at one time. I built a wildfire detection device that will use a sensor board called a BME 680 environmental sensor, which has all the sensors that I need. And based on this data, I can be able to predict what will happen in this situation. In this project, I'm going to be using a Raspberry Pi, a sensor board, and a camera that will take pictures so that it will be evidence so that there will be less false alarms. And I'm going to be using Bellina so that I can manage my fleet of devices remotely. For example, if I have to update my program, instead of having to bring my device from the wild, instead I can just do it remotely on my computer. Also, if I have to duplicate my device, then instead of having to go through the same setup process as my first device, all I can do is just do it easily on the Bellina dashboard. And to visualize my data that I'm going to be getting from my sensor board and the image, I will be using this website called UBDots, which is a website to visualize data as a dashboard. And I'm going to be adding events into this so that you can get notifications. For example, you can get notifications by email, text message, or Slack. Okay. If I had more time in my hands, then I would add machine learning efficient, because instead of having to write hundreds of if-else logics, all I can do is get sample data and I can be able to label them. For example, for one set of data, I can be able to label it for how the data is represented. Thank you for watching, and I hope this can be used to solve the real problem.
What amazing ideas. Such a cool use of technology to help save the environment and maybe loads and loads of lives with that sort of early warning fire detection system. And the clever way she was using Balena to make different machines. Very, very good. Now, I got to say, that project, Sashruka's project there, is definitely one of the more advanced projects we would get in Coolest Projects. So don't let it worry you if that seemed very technical. It really was. But we get tons of projects from super duper very beginners all the way up to really advanced projects like Sashruka's. So don't let that stop you. Please send your projects in. We want you to register. Anything that you're making is perfectly great for Coolest Projects. And it looks like we have a participant here from Coolest Projects Belgium. Thanks for being here, Viketic. I hope you submit your project for the global showcase. That would be really, really cool, man. I'd love to see it. Our special guest today is Liz from Liberty Global. She's a worldwide telecommunications and networking company. It's super cool. Hey, Liz, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Mr. C. Hello. And hello
Hey.
to all you creators at home. I'm super
Amazing.
thrilled to be here, and it's super exciting to be supporting Coolest Projects Showcase again this year. And really excited to share with you some things about our business today and the environment, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for being here. It's so cool. I mean, so what is Liberty Global? What do you do?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we are a broadband video and mobile communications company. And that's kind of a mouthful, but I think some of our home users might know us better as our brands. So like, for instance, in the UK, we're known as Virgin Media O2, we're Telenet in Belgium, Sunrise UPC in Switzerland, Virgin Media in Ireland, and Vodafone Ziggo in the Netherlands, and UPC in Slovakia. So that maybe will help you connect a little bit better to what we do. But at the core, we provide you with internet and connectivity services. So.
Amazing. So all of those massive brands that do networks and telecommunications, you provide the infrastructure, infrastructure for them?
Yep, absolutely. Huge amounts of network infrastructure. That's lines in the ground, whether that be fiber, broadband, and of course, different content online, as well as, a lot of sporting events is what people's interested. You can e-game through connectivity products. So huge amounts of products all coming through your network and providing you with the connectivity that you can use to create your digital technologies to showcase in Coolest Projects.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So I guess like Liberty Global is in lots and lots of people's lives and they may not even know it at all. So, I mean, how is Liberty Global using innovation to protect the environment?
Yeah, so we do this in a number of ways. So at Liberty Global, we're actually designing the products that support all of those brands. And we do this by really embedding those sustainability areas in from the start. So we want to ensure that all of our products have circularity. That means they can be used and refurbished and aren't going to waste. We want to reduce the energy consumption. And also we want to think about size, because of course, the larger the size, the more plastic you need to use. So just for an example, it's really interesting and it's really fascinating to me because our latest mini TV box is really, really small compared to our old box. So it can fit in the size of your hand. And I have here an example of an old box. And if you can imagine the amount of plastic in the past and what we can get to today, it's just amazing to see how technology has advanced and how much we can improve those products. Not only the size, which is huge in itself, but also just reducing the energy consumption in products. And then on top of that, I also think it's really interesting because our latest product is 85% recycled plastics, which was impossible in the past. So it's really, really important and really fascinating because it's also helping to reduce the e-waste in the world. And that probably is, monumental when we talk about environment and just, what we need to do to be able to reduce our e-waste and, of course, reduce our reliance on biodiversity. minerals and sourcing. We want to make sure we protect the environment and that we're, not using all the resources all in one go. So it's great to see that that we're really taking this into account in our products.
Absolutely, that's super cool. And I know things like waste is a massive problem at the moment. It's like it's piling up. With having trouble getting rid of a lot of it, and mining those heavy metals is a big problem for the environment and things. And when you talk about circularity, that's like, I know reduce, reuse, recycle. When you talk about circularity and technology, what do you mean?
Yeah. So for instance, like all of our products at the end of life, because we continue to own them, we bring them back. We take them back in, we refurbish the ones we can, and then we recycle the products and the ones we can't refurbish. So we're making sure we continually reuse those products and the minerals and the resources and the chips in those products. So just as an example, I don't have 2021 figures yet, but in 2020, we were able to recycle 2.1 million set-top boxes and modems. So those come back in and then they get refurbished and reused and sent back out to customers. And anything that can't be reused, we make sure it's recycled responsibly. So it's not going into landfill. It's not being shipped, overseas. Nothing is happening with that. So it's fantastic. That's around like 4,000 metric tons of waste. So it's massive if you think about it. So being able to do that, it's really supporting the environment and making sure that, we're not dumping more year on year on year. And we continue to make products smaller, which also helps, of course, reducing the size, which, of course, also reduces the packaging. So it's really interesting. You can really just think about
Virtuous cycle,
you're mitigating just by changing it up.
That's really cool. And I love the way that you're being responsible for your waste. Like, I know that there are large manufacturers, like famously large soft drink manufacturers, that the landfill is like a large percentage of their plastic waste because it's not their responsibility once you have it. But I love that Liberty Global is maintaining responsibility for those things, bringing them back and doing the best thing, the most efficient thing with them possible. I think that's so cool.
Yeah,
it's a big
absolutely.
problem I have here with waste is like, because I work at the workshop here at Raspberry Pi, we have lots of waste things that get broken or damaged, or, something pops a fuse, and it's like, how do you get rid of those bits and pieces? But if you're taking that back once it's done, that's a huge weight off my mind. Because I don't feel bad about having to like stack it up in a pile or take it to the wee man or brilliant. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's another one that you mentioned is actually our networks. Network infrastructure is massive and it requires a lot of cooling. Of course, you get a lot of servers in a room, it gets hot, and then they don't work. So we want to make sure that our connectivity is spot on always, is perfect for our customers, but we also want to reduce our energy consumption and also the use of refrigerants, which is used in air conditioning units, which are actually really harmful to the environment. So we've been innovating all of our air conditioning units out and been swapping them with modern units that are really innovative. And what they do is they use free air, just natural air from the outside, and compress it through filters so that we can use that free air, and it reduces our energy, it reduces our costs, and most importantly, it's a huge benefit for the environment. So I think it's a win all around, and just another way we can innovate and think of technologies in really every aspect of our life. Is really cool that you can just continue to think about how you can create and innovate for the environment.
Yeah, that's cool. We've got Victic here coming in again, saying that his internet comes from Liberty Global at Telenet.
Yes. Oh, yay.
Yeah, that's cool. See, that's something you're touching loads of people's lives. You don't even know.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Oh, it's so cool that we have creators in Belgium joining. I hope you're also joining the Coolest Projects Live event there. It's back on this year, so that's also really exciting.
Yeah. Super cool to do that. And I think with Liberty Global too, like the size that you are, and talking about like in Belgium, in all these countries, the scale that you operate at, even small gains make massive differences in the long run. Like when you look at the big picture, if you're fine tuning and streamlining things like your connection and like waste disposal and all that sort of thing over the size that you are, that piles up, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a good comment for everyone in your everyday life. I mean, any way you can do, any small action you can make can really make a huge impact on the environment and on your community. So I think, when people start thinking about, cycling to work or reducing their meat consumption, or, there's so many ways that you can really help, and all those little things do add up. And so it's so important to think, what you can do for the environment, and also how you can use technology to improve the environment as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what we're trying to do here with Coolest Projects. Get those people. Like, we can't solve the problems we have today using the same thinking that developed those problems. And young people
Yeah.
coming through today are those innovative minds that can help us produce a new solution using the stuff that we've
Yeah.
got, right?
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the cool thing. And I love the idea of innovating too, that there's technology that exists that you can then take and make better. You know, we're on, like, I think it's iPhone 13 now. So there's always innovation happening in technology. Nothing ever stops changing.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
got any words of encouragement for young people who are making things or doing stuff?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, you and everything you do, just give it your best effort, go for it, dream big, think big. Don't get discouraged, don't hold back. I mean, there will be challenges. There's always challenges in life. I know everyone says that, but it's true. But the good thing to know is that they're temporary. You can join coder clubs, you can get help, you can ask for a mentor to get the support you need. So you can work through those challenges, and if you can't, you take a break and you come back to it. So I think it's just important that you continue to strive and get out there and give it your best, and of course just stay true to yourself. I think that's the most important. So create what interests you, create what you like, because you don't want to design something for someone else, you're designing it for yourself. So I think that's probably the most important. Stay true to yourself.
Amazing. That's such great advice. Thank you very much for being here today to chat about how Liberty Global is protecting the environment and inspiring our young creators out there to do the same. It's been really great to have you, Liz. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much. And I look forward to, seeing all your projects in the showcase. I'm super excited for this year. I know you guys are up to great things. So good luck with your projects. And yeah, thank you for having me. Take care.
Thanks very much. Bye. Awesome. That was so cool. I mean, seeing that amazing work from Shashuka in the showcase and chatting with Liz has sort of inspired me to make something myself. Like, while we're here together, let's make something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a game called Save the Shark in Scratch. So we have the Scratch category that you can enter all of your projects in. So if you ever make anything in Scratch, that's the category that you'll need to use. Doesn't matter what it does. If you're using Scratch, enter it in the Scratch category. And so the game we're going to make will explore sort of like the shark's favorite food sources and the impact of plastics in the water, which can harm sharks in their natural habitat. So when I entered this project in Coolest Projects, well, I'm above the age limit, so I can't, but if I were going to enter it, then I'd enter it in the Scratch category. But I think for the topics, my game would be about environment, education, and because it's a game, I would enter in the fun topic as well. So let's have a look. We'll get started. I've got the starter project here, and you can do on the project site, you can find the Save the Shark project if you want to do this one from scratch yourself. You can follow along and crack on with the code here, rpf.io/save-shark, and you can start doing the project with me. So the first thing you'll see is once we open the starter project, we've got this shark here and this sort of background that we're working with, like the blue ocean. And you'll see down here, I also have another sprite called, this is my plastic bottle, this is my rubbish. So this is what comes with the starter pack. So once we open that, we've got it here, and this can all be done in the browser. You don't need to have a Raspberry Pi or anything to do it. So we've got it here. What we're going to do is take this little shark, and we're going to start making code. So the first thing I want to do is when my green flag is clicked, actually, I'll make that a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better. I want my shark to go to the position it's in now. So you see my shark's here, and it updates this block. So I've got my go-to block, and that's where my shark will go as soon as I click the green flag. So if I move my shark over here, every time I click the green flag, it goes back to the start position. Fantastic. That's what I want. The next thing is once my game starts, so once I click the green flag, I want my shark to always be paying attention to what I'm doing. So I get my forever block and I clip that under here. So whatever happens now, as long as the game is running, everything in this loop will happen in order. So forever, keep doing these things. And I'm going to use my mouse to drive. Okay, so that makes it available on mobile. If you're working in Scratch, you can use the mouse down because it works like the touch on the screen as well. So that means my game will be playable on mobile. Just a nice little bit thing, just for those who are entering Coolest projects, just to remember. It's a little tip for the pro people who want to do some extra bits, extra adaptability in your projects. So and we want sensing for my mouse down. So my mouse down is like touching the screen or clicking the button. If I hold that down, then everything inside this is what's going to happen next. So while I'm holding my mouse down, if I click on the left side of the shark, I want it to move left. And if I tap on the right side of the shark, I want it to move right. So I need another if statement. So I want my if something. If I click to the left of my shark, so that would mean the X values, which are my horizontal numbers, I want to, if my X value is less than what the shark is, and I click on the left side, then move to the left. So if less than, there we go. So if my sensing mouse X, Okay, so mouse X is the sideways value of where my mouse or where I touch. It calculates that for me, is less than, if I go to motion, I can find here it is, the X position of my shark. Okay, so when I click the mouse down, if where I touch is to the left of my shark, then I want my shark to move to the left. So I change X by, remembering our Cartesian coordinates, we move to the left with minus numbers. And then because the shark comes with 2 costumes, you can see them here, we're going to get it to change costume. So we go to next costume. Where's that? I'm blind today. Cool. So if I click to the left here, once my green flag is clicked, and we can see the yellow outline means that my script is currently still running. It means that Scratch is still using that script. It's waiting for me to do something. So if I click to the left, my shark moves to the left. Fantastic. If I click to the right, nothing happens, but we'll add that code now. So that's really easy. So I always say work smarter, not harder. So rather than remake all that code, I'm just going to duplicate it and pop it here. And I'm going to change these around. No, I can't do that. I need to change the actual symbol itself. So let's just thinking about my maths. So greater than X position, change X by 10. And now when I add that into my script, I want to make sure it's inside my mouse down if, but underneath my other if. So you can see there's one here and there's another one underneath. Make sure they don't cross over or you'll end up with weird bugs in your code. So if mouse down, let's check that that works now. So green flag, my shark sets up in the middle again, just like I asked. I click to the left, I click to the right. Fantastic. I've got a shark moving. On to the next bit. So once we have our shark moving, we want to start getting the plastic bottle moving. So the plastic bottle, the intention of that is that it will start at the top of the screen and kind of fall down like the shark is swimming through the water and it's swimming past all the plastic rubbish. So to get that rubbish to do what I want it to do, I'm going to have it start at the top of the screen, and then I'm going to have it produce clones. So it's going to copy itself and have those clones do things as well. So to start with, we need to have when green flag clicked, because that's what kicks off our project. So I'm making sure I can see up here that my Coke bottle is the thing that's picked on my plastic bottle, and my sprite is selected here. So I know the code is for the plastic rubbish. Now, what I want my plastic rubbish to do is I want it to go to the very top position. You can see here the block's already got it nicely set up for me. So X0 means it's in the middle of my screen, but Y200 is all the way at the top. It's off the top part of my screen up here. And when it goes up there at the very beginning of my game, I want it to hide. I want it to not be seen because I don't want my player to know where it's going to come from until it starts coming. So when green flag clicked, go to this really high position and disappear so nobody can see you. Then once the game is running, I want you to always do something. Keep doing this forever. I want you to make a clone of yourself, and then I want it to wait for a while before it does it again. Now, I don't want it to just wait for 1 second or 3 seconds because that would just be boring. It would be like clockwork. I'd get the thing at the same time every time. If I go to my operators, I can take a random number, and I can throw that in here, and I can tell I want it to wait between 1 and 5 seconds. Now, you can tinker with your own numbers and put in here whatever you would like. The lower the numbers, the more plastic bottles you're going to get. But 5 seconds in a game is a long time. So in video games, 5 seconds is a long time. But if you tinker with those numbers and play with it and see what you like, you can put anything you would like in there. So what it's going to do now is when I click the green flag, it's going to move to the top of the screen in the middle. It's going to hide. And then as long as the game is running, it's going to make a clone of itself and then wait, and clone itself and wait and clone itself. Great. So now what do I want the clones to do? So it can copy itself, but the copy isn't going to do anything. So we're going to give it some instructions. So we go to control, and you see down the bottom of your control list, and these aren't ones that you use very often, but you've got these clone control blocks. So when I start as a clone, what do I want you to do? Well, first off, it's invisible, so I need to be able to see it. So let's push show to bring it back. Then I also want it to switch costume. So if we have a look at the costumes we've got here, you can see that we've got 4 different costumes for our rubbish that it can pick between. So we want it to choose a costume. We want it to switch costume to, and then we're going to use our random operator again. But because we only have 4 costumes, we're going to make that 1 to 4. Okay, so when I start as a clone, appear, look like a piece of rubbish. Then I want you to go to somewhere random. So I want you to go to pick random. Now, we can go from -200 to 200 in Scratch, so let's do that. We go from all the way left to all the way right, any random position you want from left to right, but you have to be at the top of the screen. So Y200 is the very top. So we know it'll be anywhere we like along here, but it'll be somewhere at the top so it can start falling down. The next thing we want it to do is now we need it to fall at a certain speed. So there are ways you could do that. You could tell it to just move a certain number of steps all the time, but again, like that's not interesting. We want to be able to change these things inside a game. So we're going to make a variable and we're going to call it speed. And this will set how fast our rubbish can go. You'll see in my screen, I've now got this thing here showing me where the speed is. Okay, and we can hide that if we don't want to see it. We can get rid of it by clicking this tick so your player doesn't see what the speed is. We can hide the code, but for now we'll leave it up so that you can see it for diagnostic purposes. You can see what I'm doing while the game is running. So once we've got this, we want it to set speed. So we've got my variable, we want it to be speed. Okay, and we want it to set that to a random number. So this way, okay, we're using lots of random numbers in games because that's what keeps it fresh. Okay, if we have the same number every time, it's not really a game, it's more of a pattern. So if we have random numbers, then while it's picking, it's making all those different choices, it's making it seem harder for us. So once we've got that, we set our speed to something between -1 and -10, and I'll come to why they're minus numbers in a minute. And we're going to repeat this until, okay, another nice block that we don't use very often, but I really like this one because it allows you to keep something going until a condition is met. And then you can say, right, now crack on with the rest of this script. And what we want to have happen is we want it to do something until our rubbish hits the bottom of the screen. If it gets to the bottom of the screen, it's gone too far. We need to get rid of it. And so what we want it to do is repeat until your Y position is less than, where's my less than block here? And we want that to be -180, which is just at the bottom of our screen visible. And we want our motion, and we can track the Y position of the clone. So when the Y position of that rubbish gets to the bottom of the screen, okay, we want it to change Y by speed until that happens. So we go back to our variable, okay, so they'll move at different rates, because remember, we're picking a random number for each clone, so they'll all fall at different rates. Some will be fast, some will be very slow. And then we want it to wait for a very short patch of time. So this is how fast it's going to move down the screen. Okay, we want that to be 0.1. And that's how fast it will frame. So if you play a lot of video games, you talk about your frame rate. Our frame rate is only like 10 per second, 10 FPS, which is only very slow, but it's quite a simple game. You could put it up to 60 FPS if you wanted, and you can get sort of like developer tools for Scratch extensions in the browser you can use to make it do 60 FPS stuff, but we're not going to do that today. So you see here, we've got the game. And now it's going to run down the screen. It's going to get to the bottom. It's going to keep doing this until it gets to the bottom. And then we want it to go away, right? Once you get to the bottom of the screen, disappear. So let's see what happens. So we click our screen, and there's our rubbish falling down the screen. Fantastic. And my shark will go to it and touch it, but nothing happens yet. Okay. And we can see it picking speeds for our bottles. As the new bottles are cloned, it picks a new speed every time. Okay, and we use those minus numbers because it's changing the Y value by that number each time. So it's dropping down and down and down and down by that number. Okay, so the next part we need it to do is we want it to track the shark's health, in essence. So what we're going to get it to do is we want it to make sure that when the shark eats rubbish, something bad happens. And then we're going to add something good. So when it eats that, it gets some health back. So then it becomes more of a game. So we're going to eat rubbish to lose health, and we can gain health back by eating something nice. So the first thing we want to do is make that variable for health. So I'm going to make a variable, and we'll call it health. Okay, you see it makes all those things, and I get my health bar up here. So I'm going to drop speed so we can just have health. I'll pop that up top there. There we go. And I want this to, at the beginning of my game, so I'll stop the game for now. At the beginning of my game, I want to set my health to a number. So let's just go for 20. Okay, so 20, that's how many hit points my shark has to start with, and I'll lose them by eating rubbish. So the next thing I want to do is, once we're down here, we've got all of our if statements. We want one that says, if my health ever gets to 0, stop. Okay, kill the game. It's game over. So we need an if, because if my health ever gets to 0. So we pop that in here, making sure it's inside our forever, but outside of our mouse down loop. So you'll see my mouse down loop comes down here and it cuts off here. So my if then is outside of that, but it's inside my forever because I need it to be part of my game the whole time. So I grab my operators, my minus. If my health gets to less than 0, I want my game to stop. So I pop health in here. If health gets to less than 0, then events, stop all. Okay, and that will kill my game. So once my health gets to 0, game over. Fantastic. And now I'm going to put something on the plastic bottle. So when I start as a clone, so only for the clones, okay, when I start as a clone forever, because my game is always running and I want you to do this thing forever, I also want an if. So pay attention to see if you're touching the shark. So if we go to sensing, we should have touching here, and I can choose shark. So when you start as a clone, as long as my game is running, if you're touching the shark, then I want you to take some health off my shark. -5. And then I want the rubbish to go away because the shark ate it. So I want to delete this clone. Inside my if statement. There we go. So when I start as a clone, while my game is running, if I touch the shark, then the clone should take 5 points off the health and then disappear. Let's see if it works. Oh, this is a really slow one. Suspense is killing me. Oh, speeding up. And there we go. So I'm losing health. Fantastic. So if I sit underneath this shower of rubbish, I should eventually 5 and then 0, and everything should stop. Fantastic. Okay. So maybe I'll change that actually. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my shark, and I think instead of less than 0, I'm going to get it to be equals 0. Let's do some tricky stuff. So if health is less than 0 or health equals 0, then stop everything. Okay, so once we get to 0 or we drop under, that will just protect us in case I change the health later and it comes up with random numbers. It will definitely stop me no matter what happens. If I get to 0 or go under 0, game over. Okay, fantastic. So we know that that's working. It's killing it. So what I want to do now is the last thing I want to add is something new that the shark can eat. I want to give it something that will give its health back. So let's go to here. So we could go to creatures, or I can just search for fish. Shark eats. Yeah, let's go for this guy. Oh, cool. I've got loads of costumes. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do that guy. And he's got 4 costumes. So since the fish, I want it to do pretty much exactly the same thing as I want the plastic bottle to do. I want it to start at the top of the screen and fall down, but this time I want it to give health back when I touch. The code's exactly the same except for one tiny bit. So again, let's work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to take all 3 of these scripts I've written and copy them to my fish. To do that, I grab it, I drag it, I hold it over the fish down here, and I wait for that wiggle. Look, I'll just show you again so you can see it. Wiggle. All right, wiggle. Once you get that, you know that's the sprite it's on, so we let go. That should be copied. Copied. Wait for the wiggle. There it is. Copied. Now I check the fish, clean up my blocks, and here's all my stuff. Now, the thing I need to change is here. So when my fish touches the shark, I don't want it to hurt my shark. I want it to heal my shark. Now, I don't want my game to be 5 points here, 5 points there. So I'm going to make the fish worth less than the plastic bottle. So you have to eat more fish to catch up to eating 1 plastic bottle. So I'm going to make the fish worth, how hard do I want my game to be? 2. I make my fish worth 2 points back. So now when I start the game, I have my health and I can eat this fish. Chomp. And if I eat this guy, great. And I can eat this and lose health. Fantastic. And so now I have an actual game. I have a game that plays. I have a game that I lose health. I can lose. I can win. Well, actually, I can't win yet. But that's the next thing to add, I think. So that would be the answer to my project question when I make my video. It would be, what would I add if I had more time to add something to my project? Well, I think what I would add is I'd add a win state. So at the moment, my game is like an endless runner that you just keep going until you lose. You see how long you can go for. But maybe adding a win state to my project would be the next thing to do. And I could do that in a bunch of ways. I could add a timer. So when your timer runs out, we'll see if you beat your score previously. I could have you get to a certain health. So once you get to 50 health points, once you get your shark extra healthy, maybe that's a win. Maybe your shark is then a granddaddy shark who can go and live in the ocean. It's totally up to you. But whatever you wanted to do with it, you can enter it into Coolest Projects, guys, because it's all about that. So if you have something you want to enter into Coolest Projects, or you want to start making something now, we have loads and loads of resources here to help you. So if you want clarification on anything I'm about to explain, just ping us in the chat here, and I'll try my best to get back to you ASAP. So If you've been inspired to make something environmental, you could very easily follow our Protect Our Planet path on the Raspberry Pi project site all the way to a registration in Coolest Projects. So using our 3-2-1 make structure, you can simply start at the beginning of that path and work your way through 6 sequential projects to make something really awesome by the time that you're done. Just go to rpf.io/protect-our-planet to get started. And even if you haven't finished off the cool thing that you're making, you can still register it in the Coolest Project Showcase. All levels of skill and experience are encouraged, even if you've never made anything before in your life. If you're looking for inspiration, we just opened the Showcase Gallery for this year, which you can get online and see at rpf.io/showcase22. So all of the things that people are submitting for this year's Coolest Projects are on there. So you can jump on, have a look, see what's there, come up with some inspiration, invent something, and submit it by the 11th of May. Okay, so registering for Coolest Projects once you have something you want to do is super, super easy. So to make sure that your project can be showcased in the Coolest Projects gallery, is that you have to be eligible to take part. So if you're up to 18 and you've made something cool involving tech, you can join in. You can work on your project as an individual or part of a team of up to 5 young people. Your project doesn't have to be finished. Every project is welcome from beginner all the way up to advanced in any programming language using whatever hardware you have available. Don't worry if your project isn't 100% finished. We love prototypes and we love seeing works in progress. And one of the questions that you have to answer in your project, the 3 questions that is vital to answer are: tell us about your project. Why did you choose to make it? What did you find hard when making your project and how did you get past those problems? The third one, is there anything you would do differently or you would add if you had more time? That's the third question. So if you haven't finished, answering the third question will be super duper easy. So we ask you for these questions in your registration form, but we'd love to see you explain them in your video too. It can't hurt to explain them both times. Everyone who registers will be showcased in the gallery. You'll receive professional feedback from our judges. You'll get this super cool poster. Check it out. Made by an artist in New York called Joey Rex, and we're sending one to every single person who enters. Every single person who enters will get one. If you register your project, you get one of these posters. It actually looks a little bit like a workshop downstairs. And for all the people who are selected as judges' favorites, so when they come through, we get them all marked, we get them shortlisted, and the judges pick their favorite projects. You can have one of these. You get one of these awesome, awesome medals. Look. Right? Yeah. What an awesome addition to your trophy shelf at home. Okay, so it was so great to see so many of you getting involved in the chat. Vikatik, Ragnarok, AAA, all of you guys, it's been great to have you chatting along with us. And thank you to Liz for coming along this evening. I'm super excited to see what all of our viewers are going to come up with for Coolest Projects. Before you go, everybody, do one thing for me. Whatever it is that you're making at home at the moment, just enter it into Coolest Projects before May 11. Doesn't matter if it's half-baked, in prototyping, or completely market-ready product, just register it. Like, you'll get our awesome bag of swag at the very least, and you might even get one of these medals for your efforts. You have literally nothing to lose. Just head to coolestprojects.org to register now. I can't wait to see what you're all inventing. I really can't. It's really cool. Every year, I love doing the judging. I get to see all these amazing things from around the world, kids making stuff with bits they found in the cupboard. Genius. So many brilliant people out there. Thank you all for being here for the Raspberry Pi Foundation's Coolest Projects live stream, and thank you to Liberty Global for supporting Coolest Projects. We'll be back again soon with more digital making. Until then, everybody, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Catch you later.